Have you ever met someone who pulls away the moment things get real yet can't stop thinking about the one person they pushed away? Let me tell you something straight up, avoidants are obsessed. Not with everyone, not with love, but with one kind of person, and if you've ever felt like a magnet they couldn't resist, you better listen close. So let's be crystal clear, avoidants don't obsess over chaos. They obsess over clarity. Over calm, over the one person who didn't collapse trying to earn their love. Be that person, not for them but for you, because your power isn't in chasing, it's in standing still and letting the storm come to you. Avoidants live in a paradox of brutal inner conflict that rules their relationships, and most people never see it. On the outside, they seem distant, cool, maybe even detached, but on the inside, it's chaos. And that chaos begins when something real shows up. Because the truth is this, avoidants crave connection just like everyone else. They want intimacy, they want love desperately. But the moment it starts to feel too close, too safe, too honest, they panic. Why? Because connection feels like a threat. Not logically, emotionally, it's not about you. It's about what intimacy represents to them, the possibility of being consumed, of losing their identity, of needing someone the way they swore they never would. So what do? They pull away, they get quiet, they act busy. They start pointing out your flaws, or worse, they ghost. Not because they don't care, but because they care more than they know how to handle. And here's where the obsession begins. Avoidants aren't obsessed with everyone. In fact, most people don't get close enough to scratch the surface. But when they meet someone who awakens something deeper, someone who feels emotionally grounded, someone who's not rushing, not controlling, not chasing, that's when the system short circuits. That kind of presence disturbs them. It's calm, but it's powerful. It's not reactive. It's stable. And suddenly their usual escape routes don't work. They pull back and you don't chase. You hold your ground. You respect yourself. And in that moment, something dangerous happens. They get curious. That curiosity becomes obsession. They start wondering, why aren't you clinging to me like everyone else? Why does your peace make me feel exposed? Why can't I stop thinking about you when I've trained myself to not need anyone? That's the paradox. They want connection, but they fear it. So they run from it, then ache for it in private. And the one person they can't stop thinking about is the one who didn't beg, didn't fall apart, didn't lose themselves to keep the relationship alive. You didn't shrink to keep them comfortable, and that's the exact reason they can't forget you. Forget you. To an avoidant, emotional independence is attractive, but emotional stability, that's haunting, because it holds up a mirror. It shows them what they're missing, and it reveals a truth they've spent their whole life avoiding. Love is not a trap. It's not danger, it's freedom, but only if you're brave enough to let it in, and that's why they're obsessed. The person avoidants are obsessed with isn't the one constantly trying to prove their worth. It's not the one who texts nonstop, analyzes every move, or tries to decode their silence like it's some sacred language. No, the person who truly gets under their skin, the one they think about when the world gets quiet, is the secure one. The emotionally grounded individual who doesn't flinch when the avoidant pulls away. The one who says, you're allowed to take space, but I won't chase you into the void. That person is their kryptonite and their addiction. You see, avoidants are used to relationships that revolve around their fear. People trying to earn their love. People shrinking themselves, contorting, performing just to stay close. That creates power but not attraction. Not obsession. That kind of energy feeds their need for control, not their soul. But when they meet someone who is steady, someone who doesn't come unglued when they detach, someone who honors their own emotional needs without apology, it throws off their whole system. Suddenly, they're not in charge, not of the story, not of the narrative, and not of the outcome. This person isn't trying to fix them, isn't trying to make them stay, isn't emotionally starving. And that's exactly why they can't look away. Because that kind of stability isn't weak, it's magnetic. It signals strength, self-respect, and inner peace. And for someone who's built a life on emotional avoidance, that calm presence is disruptive. It shakes them. It makes them wonder, why doesn't this person need my validation? Why are they okay without me? Why aren't they falling apart? And that curiosity becomes fixation. Obsession doesn't come from drama, it comes from conjure. When someone who's used to chaos meets someone who embodies clarity, the nervous system doesn't know whether to feel safe or scared. And that tension becomes irresistible. Avoidants obsess over the person they couldn't control because that person didn't ask for their love, they offered it without losing themselves. That's rare, that's powerful, and most importantly, that's unforgettable. When you're secure, when you know your worth, when you don't hand over your emotional stability just to keep someone around, you don't just attract attention. You haunt people because you become a standard they can't reach until they evolve. And deep down, they know it. Avoidants aren't cold. That's one of the biggest lies people believe. They're not heartless, emotionless, or incapable of love. They feel deeply, sometimes even more intensely than others, but they've built walls so thick, most people never get close enough to see it. What people interpret as not caring is actually fear of being seen, fear of being needed, fear of being vulnerable. And when someone enters their life who feels safe emotionally, it creates a reaction that's far from apathy. It's panic, because the very thing they crave is standing right in front of them, and it's terrifying. You have to understand something. Avoidants are not drawn to chaos, they're conditioned for it. Chaos feels familiar. Emotional unavailability, inconsistency, the push-pull games, that's their comfort zone. But when they meet someone who doesn't play that game, someone who is calm, open, emotionally mature, it doesn't feel safe at first. It feels foreign. And the nervous system, trained to expect rejection or engulfment, doesn't know what to do with that kind of steady presence. That's where the obsession begins. You see, emotional intensity, passion, drama, lust, that's easy. It doesn't require stability, it's a flash fire. But emotional safety, that's a slow burn. That's substance. That's where the real intimacy lives. And for an avoidant, emotional safety feels like walking into the deep end with no life jacket. It's not the calm they fear, it's what the calm might reveal: their own suppressed emotions, their own longing, their own fragility. So when they're with someone who's grounded, who doesn't react to every push with us and desperate pull, who just holds space with love and boundaries, it activates something primal. Not just attraction, recognition. It's like their soul is saying, this is what you've been searching for, but didn't believe existed. But their ego can't handle it, not yet. So they run, they self-sabotage, they shut down. And then they obsess. Because the connection didn't feel like danger. It felt like home. And here's the twist: that emotional safety doesn't bore them, it haunts them. It follows them long after the connection breaks. Because now they know it's possible. Now they've tasted something real. And no chaotic thrill can compete with the quiet power of someone who made them feel seen, not for what they showed, but for what they hid. And that kind of presence, it's unforgettable. Here's the truth no one tells you: the person with the real power in the avoidant dynamic is not the one who pulls away. It's the one who doesn't chase. The moment you stop trying to decode them, fix them, or earn their love, you shift the entire energy of a connection. Because avoidants are not used to being met with sovereignty. They're used to people folding, people twisting themselves into knots to stay in their lives. So when you stand in your truth and let them pull away without falling apart, you become unforgettable. That's the moment you flip the script. See, when you're grounded in your worth, you're not playing the same game anymore. You're not validating their fear by becoming anxious and reactive. You're not reinforcing their story that closeness equals suffocation. Instead, you're saying with your energy, your boundaries, and your silence, I am not here to rescue you from your fear. I am here to honor myself, and that kind of clarity creates a ripple effect they can't ignore. You might think they're not watching, but trust me, they are. Every time you choose yourself, they feel it. Avoidants don't obsess over people who run after them. That's predictable. That's safe. That reinforces their pattern. But someone who walks away without anger, without drama, without resentment, just quiet, calm self-respect, that person becomes a mystery they can't solve. And humans are drawn to what they don't understand. Your refusal to abandon yourself becomes the thing they revisit in their mind over and over. Why didn't they chase me? Why are they okay without me? What does that say about them? And what does it say about me? You become the contrast they didn't expect. This is where your power lies, not in controlling their behavior, but in mastering your response. You don't try to fix them. You don't try to change them. You hold the mirror, and in doing so, you expose their growth edge. You become the experience that challenges everything they thought they knew about love, control, and connection. And here's the most important part. Whether they evolve or not, whether they come back or disappear, you still win. Because you didn't abandon yourself trying to hold on to someone who hadn't even held themselves yet. And that kind of strength doesn't just attract attention, it rewrites the story. So here we are. Let's call it what it really is. Avoidants aren't chasing love. They're running from their own vulnerability, but something happens when they meet someone who doesn't flinch at their fear. Not because they're invincible, but because they're rooted, grounded, whole. That kind of presence doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't negotiate for crumbs. It simply is, and that's why it shakes the avoidant to their core. You didn't beg for them to choose you, you chose yourself, and that's what haunts them. Not your absence, not your silence, but the undeniable power of your peace. Your role in their story was never to lose yourself trying to earn what should have been offered freely. Your greatest act of love for them and for yourself is walking away when their fear becomes your prison. Because obsession isn't about presence, it's about impact. And you left an impact not through force, but through unapologetic self-respect. That's the kind of energy they never forget because it calls them to rise. And that call echoes long after you're gone. So if you've ever felt confused by an avoidant silence, haunted by their mixed signals, or tempted to prove your worth, let this be your reminder you already were the one. The safe one, the strong one, the one they couldn't figure out because you didn't need their validation to know who you were. And in the end, that's what makes you the obsession. You didn't chase. You didn't collapse. You didn't try to save them. You saved yourself. And that, my friend, is the energy of someone unforgettable. Thank you for showing up, not just for this message, but for yourself. If something in this hit home, don't ignore it. You're not here by accident. You're here because part of you is ready to stop chasing what's afraid to be caught and start standing the kind of power that attracts what's ready. If this moved you, share it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, tag someone who needs to hear it, or save it for the days you forget your worth. This message isn't just mine, it's yours now. And your voice has power too. Until next time, stay grounded, stay real, and never dim your light to make someone else comfortable in the dark. Thank you, and goodbye for now.